The religious, by and large, are idiots. I've been on a years-long quest to find any that aren't, and so far, no go. I'd love to, though, someone that I could evaluate rationally and not have faith in fifis get in the way, but that doesn't seem to be happening, and it's certainly not going to happen today. So let's get into it. We're going to do something today that we very rarely ever do around here anymore, and that's look at a Cameron Bertuzzi video. Cameron has made a complete fool of himself, especially recently, to the point that I don't feel the need to look at his videos anymore because the dumb is very, very strong with Cameron. Not that he cares or anything, and I think we're going to see that clearly by the end, but he really ought to, don't you think? So strap in, boys and girls, and we'll try to figure out why Cameron is leaving. If only that was actually true.
So something pretty big is happening, but before I share the news with you guys, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind lately, a shift that's been both incredibly rewarding, but also pretty challenging.
What, you finally grew a brain? Because I know this isn't aimed at atheists, nothing Cameron ever does is, but he'll still manage to make a complete fool of himself in the end. I have faith. No, actually I don't. This is really why Cameron has quickly become one of the biggest laughingstocks in all of apologetics, and why I virtually never do his videos. I'm only doing this one because it showed up in my recommended videos, and he was obviously doing the clickbait thing because he's an idiot and a con man. So let's see why this video is called I'm Leaving, and why, let's be honest, he's really not, because he makes all of his money lying for the Lord.
So over the past few months, I've been shifting my focus more explicitly toward discussing and defending Catholicism, and honestly, it has been one of the most rewarding things that I've done.
Funny, I thought you'd been shifting to defending complete clickbait nonsense. That's really why I stopped paying any attention to Cameron, because he's really just been doing more and more and more absurd crap as a way to hook viewers. He's just proving what a con man he is. I mean, some of his recent video titles are Breaking, the most important find since the moon landing. Reddit witches claim Trump is protected from their spells. And how demons manipulated Joseph Smith and Muhammad. So he's been going hard down the manipulation road himself for quite a while now. And I don't know if he's just not making the money he used to or what. That's what it always comes down to, right? Money. Now that he's gone from Protestant to Catholic for some really bad reasons, mostly I think he likes pedophile priests or something, I don't know, but I think there's been some backlash, and I think his supporters have started to leave. Now maybe he'll explain here, I don't know, so let's just continue.
Why is that? Well, because I'm defending something that I think is true, something that I find valuable, something that's actually helpful to people.
So what you're saying is that you weren't doing that before? I mean, his channel has been around for a very long time. Are we supposed to think that he was just doing it for the money before, but now he really believes it? If nothing changed, then why bring this up at all? Never mind that it doesn't matter what he thinks is true, only what actually demonstrably is, and Cameron has never been very good at proving that what he believes is true holds any intellectual weight. Because, truth be told, I don't trust Cameron any farther than I can throw him. Never have, never will. He hasn't earned that. This is all just a scam, just like every other apologist that we have ever looked at in the past. So why should we be impressed now? Because I just don't see it.
And in a weird way, it feels like I'm sort of coming full circle with this channel. When I first started capturing Christianity, I was absolutely fired up about sharing something that I had discovered.
And you didn't care if any of it was true. I mean, let's be honest, he has no relevant expertise in anything. He has a couple of degrees in theology, which is entirely pointless because it just teaches him what he already believes, not if any of it is actually true. And he's got a bunch of classes in making videos on YouTube. That's pretty much it. So why does anybody take him seriously? Because he spews the stuff that the desperately delusional wish was true. He is one of the lowest of the low-hanging fruit, and as I've noted in the past, Catholics tend to be the least interesting because they absolutely don't care about the truth. If their church says it's true, well, it's got to be true, so there. We're not allowed to do any independent research, we just have to listen and believe. This is why Casey Cole is such a dipshit. It's not even masquerading as demonstrable reality. It's pure fifis and faith, and that's just stupid. So Cameron is going to be even more insufferable now. Color me not impressed.
Namely, apologetics. The idea that Christianity is intellectually defensible, that it has solid philosophical and historical grounding. It was so thrilling to me. I was so excited about it, and I wanted everyone to know what I had found.
Except none of that is actually demonstrably true. And you notice the one thing that he didn't say, right? Evidentially. Christianity is not evidentially supportable. Big surprise there. So he's on fire for the Lord, which means absolutely nothing, and he wants to make a buck because that's all he's doing here. Actual, defensible, demonstrable truth is nowhere in his repertoire. So why bother with him at all? Granted, that's a question you could ask about any apologist because none of them care about demonstrable truth, do they? I have never once run into any of them that have said, I believe for entirely intellectual reasons, not on faith, and then go about to prove that. Because that kind of thing doesn't exist, at least not as far as I've ever seen. If anyone has any examples of an apologist who leaves blind faith by the wayside and goes on only evidence, I'd love to know, because I'm pretty sure those aren't real.
But if you've been around since those early days on the channel, you'll remember not everyone was as thrilled as I was. All right. Atheists weren't exactly lining up to give me high fives.
Why would we? Because you've been saying stupid shit like this since day one. Oh, I'm sure he's going to get into conspiracy theorist territory or something like that, because he's done plenty of that of late, but atheists have been pointing out just how irrational and unsupported your beliefs are since the early days, and he hasn't changed its tune one note. Why? Because he's not interested in an actual intellectual evaluation of his beliefs. He just really wants it to be true. He has had his failures pointed out to him time and time and time again, and he's just ignored it and just kept spouting the same tired nonsense because he's just pandering to his stupid crowd. Whereas if someone points out where you're going wrong, you ought to stop saying the wrong things. But Cameron doesn't. No apologist does. Because the religious, they just don't care, do they?
Some were, let's just say, a little bit hostile. And now, years later, I find myself in a strikingly similar situation.
Because you're still doing the same thing. Although, honestly, I don't see a lot of atheists responding to Cameron at all. There are a lot of apologists out there that have just fallen by the wayside because people are tired of their bullshit, and the new people who come over the horizon with new bullshit that needs to be addressed, well, they're a much more interesting target. That's why we so rarely do videos by stands against reason these days, because they've gotten old and tired, and same thing goes for people like Frank Turek too, now that I think about it. But we used to do tons of these people in the early days of the channel, but now they're kind of passé. Now I'm kind of getting tired of everybody because none of them are a remote challenge. But that's not really the point here, so let's just move on.
because now I want to share something that I've discovered: an intellectually robust theological system.
If only that were true. He's just going to do the same thing over and over again, only now with a Catholic stench instead of a Protestant one. Come on, Cameron, we are on to your game. You've just found a new load of bullcrap that makes you tingle inside, and you want to share it with the world, making a buck along the way, never once actually putting it to any kind of real test to see if it's actually true. This is how the religious operate after all, and it's absolutely pathetic.
Catholicism.
I mean, it's really sad that I can read these people as well as I can most of the time, right? I knew he was getting into kitty diddling, Catholicism, a while back. His videos still go by my feed, even though I don't watch them, so I know roughly what he's into these days, and that's been his new thing for the last couple of months. It doesn't make it defensible or anything, and it's the defense that makes it interesting, and let's be honest, he, nor any other apologist out there, even tries to get this thing to rational, defensible truth. Maybe he's doing it because Catholicism, by and large, doesn't even try to defend its beliefs rationally. I guess that's something else to consider as we go on, right?
Apologetics and philosophy train me to think deeply, to ask hard questions, and to care about what's actually true as opposed to like what I grew up believing.
You serious?
Nobody takes that seriously, Cameron. You might be able to lie to yourself and make yourself believe it, but nobody out there thinks you're one of the leading intellectuals when it comes to Christianity. You're probably closer to the bottom of the totem pole, down there with Matt Powell. You notice I don't bother with him either, right? So this just isn't helping your case. It's just going to get you laughed at, but since you're only making videos for your paying delusional audience and not for skeptics and atheists, what else can we expect? Very, very little. That's what we can expect.
No matter where the evidence leads, learning how to formulate arguments, analyzing historical claims, and engaging critically with theology, it all prepared me for where I'm currently at. When I finally turned the same level of scrutiny onto Christian theology itself, which is something that I honestly avoided for the longest time.
And you're still not doing it today, because that's exactly what I did way back when, and I came away understanding that Christianity, and indeed all religion, was just nonsense. None of it was actually defensible, and if you don't cling to blind faith and a strong desire for it to be true, there's no way to actually conclude that it is, at least not intellectually. This is where the religious always go wrong. They don't go into it looking for the truth. They go into it looking for a way to defend their pre-existing beliefs as the truth, whether it is or not. They have a goal in mind, whereas I didn't. I just wanted the truth, and while I was firmly convinced that my existing religious beliefs were true, I was willing to go wherever the evidence led. Cameron isn't. Most theists aren't. They just want to wind up exactly where they already are, with as few minor variations as they can manage. And that's kind of dumb, but look who we're talking about, right?
This is where I ended up. Now, am I saying that I've figured everything out? No, not even close. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I've made mistakes in my reasoning, but this is where the evidence has personally led me. This is my journey.
And granted, I haven't gone on the journey with him, mostly because I'm not convinced that he'd know what reality was if it bit him in the ass, because Cameron, like most theists that I run into, they really aren't after the truth for truth's sake. They are after comfort, whereas I wasn't. I didn't care where I ended up, so long as it was with the best understanding of reality that I could muster. I'm willing to give up any position if it leads me to a deeper, richer understanding of what's actually going on. And I don't think that Cameron is. That's why when you talk to these people, Mostly, they're talking about how their beliefs make them feel, and I don't care about that one bit. My beliefs could make me absolutely miserable, but so long as they were the best supported, most critically evaluated positions that I could manage, I really wouldn't care at all. It's the evidence that matters, not the emotions. And I don't think that Cameron could handle doing that.
And I know that some people are going to disagree, and that is completely okay. But if you followed my content for a while, you'll know that I've always encouraged people to seek the truth wherever it leads. And for me, that search for truth has led me here.
No, probably not. Granted, I'm not really here to disagree with Cameron. I just don't think that he's actually been searching for truth. He's been searching for comfort while, at best, paying lip service to truth. That's why he fails every time he has a debate, and I don't know if anyone even bothers to debate him anymore, but he has in the past, and he's completely failed. He clings to what he believes. He doesn't go through a debate where somebody rips his beliefs to shreds and changes his mind thereafter. No, he just finds a way to rationalize his way back to the things that he already believed. This kind of thing came up again relatively recently, in big air quotes, because really recent doesn't mean much with my production schedule. But when they were doing the final experiment with the flat earthers, I told them up front that it wouldn't matter. When they found that their model didn't work, and they did, they weren't going to follow the evidence to a globe Earth. I was told that I was wrong, but now we all know that I wasn't. The flat earthers have a philosophical and religiously deluded desire for the Earth to be flat because that's what they really wish was true. And now that they've been proven categorically wrong, they're going back and rethinking things so that they can maintain a flat Earth perspective. They don't care about the truth at all, and neither does Cameron. Why is anyone surprised by this? I don't know, you tell me.
And just like when I discovered apologetics, I can't not share it. But defending these beliefs has been deeply rewarding.
That's exactly where he's going wrong, and he doesn't even know it. You don't need to defend the truth. The truth is the truth regardless. You don't have to say, I want everyone to believe this, because it doesn't matter. The truth is the truth. If you present the truth and your evidence and your reasons for why it is the truth, if you can prove to other people that it's the truth, then rational people will accept it as the truth because it is in fact the truth. It's the evidence that gets you there, no faith required. This is why apologetics is such a waste of time. It's not being done to defend the truth, it's being done to make a buck. That's why I don't go looking for money around here, because I don't care. I present the evidence for things, and it's the evidence that should convince the people that are listening, not me, because I am completely irrelevant in this example. I don't matter, and neither does Cameron. But religion sets up a cult of personality for the weak-willed and weak-minded to follow around. That's why these people have fan clubs. And I don't want that. Follow me or not, I don't care. That's never been what I'm here for.
For me, guys, I can't say that enough. But also, just like before, it's been really challenging. If you know anything about my work, you know that my content tends to trigger people. And back in the day, it was atheists who got upset by my work. And now it's Protestants.
That happened for entirely different reasons, though. First off, atheists aren't triggered. At least I'm not. I think that's just stupid. Atheists, and I can really only speak for myself, you can let me know down in the comments if you disagree, but atheists are only pointing out just how indefensible what you say is. I don't personally care, except insofar as you're misleading people with your faith-based bullshit. If you had any defensible evidence for any of the nonsense you spew, I probably wouldn't say, but you don't. You start and you end with faith, and then you look for ways to boldly rationalize your way around your existing beliefs so that you can pretend that they are supportable, even though clearly they are not. That's why skeptics are mad at you, because you're an idiot. Protestants are mad at you because you changed your mind. They want everyone to be just like they are. And now that you're not, they're irrationally pissed because, well, they're dumb too. I'm sure there were people who were mad at me back when I stopped being a Christian back in the day. So what? It doesn't matter what people like. It matters what's actually true. I couldn't care less if flat earthers dislike reality. They can hate me all they want because I accept the globe model, since that's what all the evidence that we have points to. Big deal. Complaining that people don't like your epistemology, that doesn't matter so long as your epistemology is rationally derived. So what are you whining about, Cameron? You're just making a fool of yourself. I think we're going to stop there for the day. I just hit the halfway point, and this is going to get really long if we continue, so we're not going to. I have a feeling I'm going to spend a lot of time explaining where Cameron is going wrong and where his epistemic standards are pathetically absurd, and that unfortunately takes time. So we're going to do this in 2 parts. Next week, I promise, we'll knock it out in its entirety. So what do you think? Honestly, this is going about as well as I thought it would, which is not at all. Granted, I haven't seen any of his recent videos. I had to go into his playlist to pull out some titles, but I really don't have any interest in consuming any of his content anymore. I've done enough, and it's all the same shit that Cameron really wishes was true, spewed without sufficient corroboratory evidence that any of it is true, because he just really likes the sound of it, and he thinks he can con people into giving him money because that's what he's saying. Sure, whatever you say, Cameron, but I'm not convinced, and until I am convinced by the demonstrable evidence, not the sound of the self-assured apologist's voice, I am not going to change my mind, and you shouldn't either. Granted, you get to make your own decisions, and I've got nothing at all to do with that, but if you want to actually understand demonstrable reality, you have to be willing to throw away your emotional attachments and go only on the evidence, and people like Cameron, they've proven they can't do that. They don't want to. They'd go bankrupt if they did. They just really want to believe, and that is not at all impressive. And it shouldn't be impressive to anyone. But I think there's something really wrong with people out there who run on pure fifis and faith, right? Not that they'll ever agree, but reality is what it is regardless. You don't matter any more than I do, and that's something that they really need to get through their heads. Too bad that's never going to happen. So I guess we'll pick this up next time and see where it goes.